You're listening to the Tony Conley Morning Show on 1320 WILS, 1320WILS.com. Eating a Mediterranean diet may be the key to living longer. Let's talk a little bit more about this with Dr. Richard Lee, who's a medical expert for 1320 WILS and Fox News Radio. He's a clinical professor of medicine at the Stanford University School of Medicine and the medical director of GeneSolve, a body chemistry company with offices in San Francisco and Dallas. Dr. Lee, how are you, sir?
Excellent.
Now, Mediterranean diets, we've known this for a while, right? Is this new news?
Well, we've known the diet for a while, but this is really good data that shows what is the effect of that diet and why does it help people. Basically, it helps slow down the aging process by reducing damage to DNA, and it does it by preserving these little caps on your DNA called telomeres. And people who eat these foods have longer telomeres. The DNA stays intact. It gets transcribed more readily, and people don't age as quickly.
All right. What is a Mediterranean diet?
A Mediterranean diet is a diet that's very high in colorful vegetables as well as colorful fruits, grains that are unrefined and generally in the more raw form, fish primarily, especially, and olive oil, and red wine.
All right. And so red meat, the steaks, not so good for us.
Well, not totally evil either.
Mm-hmm.
If you have that steak on top of a colorful salad with lots of veggies, you've preserved your things. Probably what would be worse for you are tons of white bread, white rice, and any food that's in a plastic package that's on the shelf for 3 years without going bad.
What about dairy?
Dairy, they're low on that. The dairy is, however, things like goat cheese, cheese and butter, not as much milk because it doesn't preserve as well. The dairy should be as natural as possible, hopefully from grass-fed cows, and full fat, not low fat.
What is the difference between dairy and goat cheese? I have a son who has dairy allergies, so we've got goat's milk and goat's cheese and goat's yogurt. What's the difference?
It has to do, well, that's a good question. Some people aren't sure. It may be the cow itself, or it could be what they feed the cows. It may be some antigens from the grain and whatever cows are fed to get into the milk. So there's enough of a difference between the proteins in goat or sheep cheese and cow cheese to make a difference for people who have true allergies to it.
All right, so ideal diet. Say I wanted to join the Mediterranean diet, but I like to have a steak now and then or a piece of chicken or dairy. What's the ideal diet for me where I maybe be able to cheat or do something in moderation but still get the benefits of a Mediterranean diet?
Well, that's a good thing. The best way to look at moderation is your diet should be 80% healthy and 20% fun. You don't have to eat just brown rice and tea. Basically, it's primarily half your plate should be full of very colorful vegetables. The more color, the better. Those are the antioxidants. Those are the components of the Mediterranean diet that make the biggest difference in reducing the aging. The meat should be maybe a quarter of your plate. Ideally, cold water fish or fish that doesn't have a lot of mercury. You can have other meats on there as well. It's not totally banned. The grains should not be processed. Minimize the processed or white bread. And one glass of red wine on the side and lots of olive oil.
You know, Dr. Lee, I've been exploring this a lot lately because I, for whatever reason, was feeling sluggish for a while, so I made sure I got back into the gym and I was eating healthier. But I started purging different things from my diet to explore to see if something gave me more energy, less energy. For example, I didn't eat a ton of chips, but I'd have some chips quite frequently throughout the week, and I noticed by purging those or and perhaps purges the wrong additives. By taking those out of my diet, I started feeling better. Is that what you mean when you talk about fortifying your DNA and how all that works?
Well, it works faster than that. Fortifying your DNA has decades-long benefits. By reducing those foods that may have more oxidation, harder fats, or carbs that are harder to deal with, the strain on your body is less. Your body doesn't have to work as hard to repair the cells. Inflammation is lower, and the energy sources are more stable. If you get a lot of white carbs, your blood sugar is going up and down, and that can make you tired. So taking the fast foods out basically gives you a slower, longer burn as far as energy.
When we're talking about fortifying DNA, what does it mean keeping the strands from unraveling? What happens when they do unravel?
Okay, when they do unravel DNA, think of it like a shoestring, a shoelace, and the little caps on it keep it from unraveling.
I hate it when those come off. Yes.
Yeah. Well, when those come off, that's what those little caps are called telomeres. They keep them intact. And when the DNA unravels, the body can't read the end of the DNA strand, and whatever information is on there gets lost. So the cells, when they reproduce or when they grow or when your body makes stuff from DNA, it doesn't get the whole message. And that's the breakdown that is believed to be associated with a lot of aging.
Can we tighten those up, if you will?
Yes, you can. The way you do that, or you lengthen them, is with a Mediterranean diet. Mm-hmm. There are many other ways as well. Some people have trouble with a process called methylation, and certain supplements have to be added, again, to preserve those little caps or those telomeres. Avoiding things that damage your DNA, pollutants, cigarette smoke, things of that sort, and highly processed foods will shorten them. So the Mediterranean diet has had the strongest evidence so far as diet goes, and that's what keeps your DNA intact longer, and you don't age as fast.
We've been talking with Dr. Richard Lee, who's a medical expert for 1320 WILS and Fox News Radio. For folks who want more information about GeneSolve, Dr. Lee, where can they go?
They go to www.gene-solve.com and snoop around, take a look at the videos that we've done, and you can see what we're talking about here.
We appreciate your time, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's the Tony Conley Morning Show on More Compelling Talk Radio, 1320 WILS and 1320WILS.com.